So this has to be the number one mistake that most football traders make when they trade on Betfair, and the chances are this mistake is creeping into your own trading no matter how experienced you are. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what this particular mistake is, but more importantly, how you can eliminate it and improve your trading instantly. So go grab a cup of tea, coffee, or a nice cold beer, and let's get into it. So this was a tough video to make because I had to decide upon what I feel is actually the number one biggest mistake that most new football traders make. But to tell you the truth, there is actually tons of common mistakes, and maybe we'll cover a lot more of these mistakes in the future. But I decided upon this particular mistake that we're going to be covering in this video because I feel like this particular mistake is the root of all other future mistakes. So all the mistakes that you can see on the screen right now are actually caused by the mistake that we're going to be discussing in this video. And this mistake is the root of all evil. And I firmly believe that. So this mistake is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And the mistake really is giving in to the fear of missing out. It really is the root of all evil when it comes to football trading. And I get the impression that some people watching this video right now are already nodding their heads and saying, yep, that's me. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the fear of missing out is well, I said it a few times already, but it's the root of all evil. It causes all the other common mistakes that you often see in football trading, and it manifests itself in so many different ways as well. The fear of missing out, it's not just one particular thing. It covers almost every aspect of football trading. And looking on social media in general, and just some of the emails I receive, I see a lot of these common symptoms that we're going to talk about in this video. And probably number one that the whole FOMO and fear of missing out leads to a lot of newbies not waiting for a suggested price. So there's a lot of strategies within football trading where we're not going in at whatever price is available. We're waiting for a particular price for a particular reason. And usually it's to try and increase the risk-reward ratio in our favor. But what I often see is that new traders, they'll try and follow a strategy which suggests waiting for a particular price, but then they suddenly just take a lower price because they're scared of missing that price in case a goal goes in. So, I mean, if it was a situation where, say, the price on over 2.5 goals, it's at 1.6, but the strategy that the trader is using says you have to wait until the price hits 2.1 before you get in the market. And this is just an example, okay? Now, obviously, a more experienced trader would just sit there and wait until it hits 2.1. If a goal goes in, they're just like, okay, all right, I'll move on and look for another opportunity. But the more inexperienced football traders, they will be watching the match, and if it's really fast and there's lots of action and they sense the goal is coming, they'll get in the market earlier. So maybe the price starts at 1.6, but if it hits 1.8, they're like, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to get in the market. I don't want to miss that goal. And again, it's that fear of missing out because they really don't want to miss it. And when you do this, you really are making life very hard for yourself in the long term. All right, so this is short-term thinking. You're thinking very short-term. You're thinking, hey, look, I want to get in the market. I want to get that goal. I want to get that win for whatever reason. I don't want to take the price that I know I'm meant to take because I don't want to miss out on a winner for whatever reason. But you are making life very hard for yourself in the long term. And, you know, if we just go back to that example of waiting for a price of 2.1, if that is your strategy, then you have to keep in mind you are doing that for a reason. And usually that reason is to improve your risk-reward ratio, which make it a long-term sustainable trade. And if you start giving in and chasing lower prices, then you're lowering your potential reward, and that then means you need to increase your strike rate, which means you need to hit more winners, which then puts more pressure on yourself, and you're just making it harder and harder for yourself in the long term. And obviously this is just a small example, but I mean, honestly, I get emails like this all the time where people tell me, hey, I picked out a match, I did all the pre-match research, and this match looked perfect for the strategy. I put the orders into the market, but then the goals came early and they missed out. And they actually literally use the phrase of missed out, like they've missed out on something. But my reply is usually along the lines of, well, if it didn't hit the price that you actually wanted, then you haven't missed out on anything, okay? If it hits the price you wanted and you weren't in the market, then maybe you've missed out. But if there's a price that you're looking for and that price never materializes, then you haven't missed out at all. I don't understand what you've actually feel like you've missed out on. So honestly, not waiting for the suggested price, it starts to become the root of all evil. And like I said, if you're changing your risk-reward ratio to the point where you need to win a lot more trades, you need to have a higher strike rate, you're just putting yourself under more pressure. So, I mean, if you're, let's just say your strike rate that you need to be profitable on one strategy is 50%, but then suddenly you start taking lower prices, it might mean that you suddenly need to be 70% right all the time, which means that you've gone from having to win 5 trades out of 10 to suddenly winning 7 trades out of 10, which is a fair bit harder. I mean, obviously it depends on what market, what strategy, and all that sort of thing, but it then puts more pressure on yourself. And then when you do get those losses, the string of losses, you're much more likely to go and do something very silly after that. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong. I mean, this happens to me a lot. It happens to me a lot where I'm waiting for a certain price and it doesn't arrive. And then sometimes I literally miss entry points by a single tick. And it does annoy me in the moment. But again, you have to accept that you have your rules for a reason. And again, if it didn't hit the price that you were looking for, then you haven't actually missed out on anything. The most annoying ones for me is when it does hit the price that I want, and my order's in the market, but it doesn't get taken, and then the market suspends and then the goal goes in. Now that annoys me because that the price was taken and other people got matched, but I didn't get matched. So that can happen. But that is quite a rare scenario. Okay, so just keep in mind what I said earlier. If you start taking lower prices in these situations, I mean, how low is it? Do you want to just go in straight from kickoff and then effectively just have it as a bet and just leave your money in the market? But like I said, you're just eventually making life very hard for yourself by giving yourself a risk-reward ratio which is going to be harder to sustain. So you need to have the discipline to wait for the price that you tell yourself that you want. Okay? Let's move on to the next one. Cashing out too early. Again, I mean, this is again the fear of missing out, and again you're costing yourself potential profits by cashing out too early. And really, if you do want to take your sports trading to the next level, then learning the skill of extracting full value out of your trades is a skill that, well, you definitely need to learn. And the average newbie trader can't really do that. And I do understand in the beginning when you're new to football trading, just, hey, get into a profitable position and then cash out and just try and keep it simple while you're still learning. But eventually, you're going to get to that point where you already know all the technical side of things. You know how to do an average football trade. So from there, it starts to get to the point of trying to extract full value from the trade. And I totally understand. I mean, the instinct for the average new football trader is to take the cash as soon as they see that green amount after a goal goes in. A goal goes in, you've been staring at a red screen for a certain amount of time. That goal goes in, suddenly it's green, and you can walk away with some money, right? And I've literally watched newbie football traders see this, and I've watched over the shoulder of some people a while back, and it's almost like a desperate scramble. They're clicking and clicking and clicking on the cash out screen, almost because, again, they got this fear of missing out because they fear that something is going to go wrong in the meantime, which is going to take their profit away. Whereas if you keep more of a level head, that profit green screen will actually improve with time. If it was like a later draw trade or you were laying a winning team or something like that, And you honestly only have to look at the markets to see this in action. All right. Now watch a high liquidity match on Betfair and watch the draw price, okay, after a goal. And then you watch how it kind of sticks and then gets hammered in immediately after the goal, because that is just a whole bunch of traders, and probably a lot of newbie traders, just taking whatever draw price is there because they want to get out of their lay the draw trade immediately. But if you wait 5 minutes, watch to see where that draw price goes, and it suddenly starts to shoot up higher. And just even waiting 5 minutes can give you a little bit more profit. But yeah, do check that out and watch the markets closely next time. But I see what happens, and again, it is that fear of missing out. Now newbies have, it's almost an irrational fear of missing out and trying to desperately get out of the markets when they get into that green position, because they have a fear that a goal is going to immediately go in and then put them back in the red. So it is like if you're in a later draw trade, you get the goal, you got the profit there to take, but then you've got a fear that what if the ball goes down the other end and then there's an equalizer and it goes back to being a draw. Now, you'll find that these situations are very, very rare. They do happen. It's happened to me. But you've probably got just as much chance of another goal in your favor, or probably more. Probably more. You know, if this is a favorite who's just taken the lead, then I'm pretty sure the probability is that the favorite is more likely to then score another goal in the meantime, more than the underdog. But like I said, I mean, it is a fear of missing out. It is an irrational thing, and that is where it comes from. You get a lot of newbies ending up cashing out early and probably not taking as much profit as they probably should do, because they're so afraid of suddenly losing that profit. Honestly, a big mistake many make is also cashing out too quickly on the goal markets. Now, I see this happening a lot with some of my new members as well. I say, if you're back in the overs market and then you get the goal that you need, there's not actually a rush to cash out, because what you often see when the goal goes in is the markets kind of stick around for a few minutes, depends on the match. And in that meantime, the worst that could happen is that another goal goes in, and then your profit is actually going to increase. Or the worst that could happen is no goals go in, and then your profit pretty much stays the same. But there isn't really a rush to get out. But yet I see it happen. I see the newbies rush to lock in a profit, and I can only explain it by being this, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, because maybe they just have some sort of irrational fear that, I don't know, that maybe the goal is going to be ruled out or something like that. I do not know. I guess these days with VAR, you never know. But yeah, I mean, that whole fear of missing out it leads to a lot of newbie traders cashing out too early, taking out profits too early, especially when you're in a position of strength. You know, if you've laid the draw and a team has taken the lead, the match is no longer a draw. So you're in a very, very strong position. You're in a much stronger position than you were when the match was a draw, right? So you have to keep a lot of that in mind. And often, and I see this happen a lot on social media when I've shared a few trades, and something I like to do a lot is to just remove the risk from the trade. So I'm in a position where I'm not going to lose any money, and then try and race the profits of the trade to try and see how much profit I can get out of it, as opposed to just directly, instantly taking the cash out amount. Because if you look at the cash out amount versus the profit potential, the cash out amount is usually around 50% or less than a potential profit that you could actually make from the trade if you had let it run, okay? So we need to have a think about trying to extract as much profit as possible, because you literally are almost doubling your money. And at the end of the day, if you're putting yourself in a position where you're not going to lose any money, then again, the way I see it is, if I eventually just break even on the trade, well, I haven't lost any money. It's not too bad. But the way a lot of newbie traders who are suffering from the fear of missing out is that they'll feel like, well, I had the chance to make some money, I didn't take it, and now I've ended up with nothing. And yeah, it's not really the best approach at all. And I saw this a lot with the video that I shared right here on this YouTube channel, the gold trader method. And if I've got this technical stuff right, I'm going to try and put a link on the screen up there. If you haven't seen that video, then definitely check that out. It's a very good strategy. And this was a very example of the whole fear of missing out, playing out before my very eyes with a lot of people who tried to use the strategy. Now, the gold trader method, I show you how to use a trailing stop loss to our advantage. So instead of cashing out, we let the money roll in the market, and then we look for a second goal, which could potentially win us 100% of the stake we're using, as opposed to cashing out for maybe 30% or so, something like that. So you're almost tripling your potential profits. But I got a lot of emails from people who tried that strategy, and then they tell me the similar story of like, well, yeah, I got in the market, the goal went in, but I just couldn't resist just locking in the profit. I mean, what if that other goal doesn't come? And all that sort of thing, you know. But then I explain in the video, I mean, if that other goal doesn't come, then you exit at a certain point, and then you don't take any loss at all. But really, the strength of that video or the strength of that strategy is the potential profit that you can make. We are actually putting ourselves in a position to win 100% of our profit potential, rather than just taking the 33%. But yeah, I don't know how many emails I got, maybe 100 emails from people just saying, no, I can't do it because I see the money there and I just have to take it. I just have to cash out, all that sort of thing. And I just reply and say, well, you're not using the strategy to its full potential. And I would love to know how you get on in the long term with the strategy, with that approach. And then I don't hear anything again after that. But anyway, that is what fear of missing out leads to. It leads to you cashing out too early, okay? It also leads to copying, and this is something I blame social media for, and this is a big one. And I do warn a lot of my members who enter the live trading room that we have at Ultimate Football Trading, and there's a big warning on the screen to tell you not to just follow other people's trades for the sake of it. You know, if someone posts a trade that they're interested in or that they're going for, then it's then down to you to do your own due diligence. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Due diligence. Oh, well, I can't say it. But anyway, I'm sure you know what I mean. But yeah, but before you enter, okay, many will follow someone else's trades for the same reason as above. It is the fear of missing out. And I guess it's the fear that that trade is going to win and everyone's going to be celebrating but them. And it's a pretty irrational fear when you think about it. And it's very short-term thinking as opposed to long-term thinking. I mean, you just copying someone's trade on one day and then winning that trade, I mean, is that really, really going to benefit you in the long term? Now, I think back to when Psychoff was sharing his goal alerts on Twitter, and I saw it. I saw this with my very own eyes, just people blindly following his tips, just wanting a winner. And then if he got it wrong, he got a lot of abuse. And you know, the real reason for that abuse is probably because those people overstaked on those goal alerts. And like I said, the fear of missing out leads to other further mistakes. And I guess it just comes from that whole thing of they know if Psychoff hits the winner, everybody on Twitter is going to be celebrating and they're going to feel like they've missed out on something. And I guess they look at some of the stakes Psychoff uses and they think, well, I want to try and stake as high as him. I want to try and make the money he's making. But, I mean, this is how I approached that little era when Psychoff was sharing his goal alerts, was that I would see them, and sometimes he would do a goal alert for a match which I was already involved in. So when that happened, I would nod my head and maybe get a bit of extra confidence that my trade is going to win. Or if I saw the goal alert, I would head over to the match myself and see how it was playing out and then make my own decision on it. And then sometimes I didn't agree with whether I should go in or not. Sometimes the goal has already gone in before I even got to the market. But again, I didn't feel like I missed out on anything, and it didn't make me want to chase another bet later on. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and I just thought, you know what, there will be more opportunities to come. And like I said, sometimes I would watch the match and I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't feel or I wouldn't see what maybe Psychoff was seeing and maybe think that there was going to be a goal, so I'd skip it. Sometimes I'd be right and the goal wouldn't come. But most of the time, the goal did still arrive. But again, I didn't agree myself with getting in. It didn't fit what I was looking for. So I didn't feel like I missed out on anything at all. But I guess the average newbie would really feel like they missed out. But like I said, it's very short-term thinking. I mean, if Psychoff puts up a goal alert and I put some money in the market and then it wins, I mean, yeah, okay, that's great. I've made a bit of short-term cash. But the real best way to approach this, if it's Psychoff putting up a tip or anyone putting up a tip and you know that they are a successful trader, your best approach really is to study those tips. Head over to the markets, head over to the match, try and see what they're seeing and try and learn from it. That is the long-term thinking, and that is actually the much better approach. You don't even have to put any money in the market. Just try and learn from what they're tipping up. And then you can pick out your own tips in future, because tipsters never last forever. So yeah, you've won a few bets here and there and whatever, but where has that really got you? It's short-term thinking, okay? You need to think more long-term, and I guess, like I said, fear of missing out is what leads to the short-term thinking. And again, fear of missing out also leads to changing strategy. And again, maybe it's social media or maybe it's just human nature. I do not know. But often some people see others doing well with a strategy or a way of trading, and suddenly they decide to abandon what they're doing to chase this next shiny object. Maybe they get this belief in their head, oh, no, what I'm doing is wrong. That is the way. Let me go and do that. Let me go and try that. But then they're going to keep going round and round in circles with that sort of mindset, because there's always going to be another shiny object. There's always going to be another side where the grass seems greener, okay? And there is that phrase, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greenest where you water it. So you're better off staying where you are with the strategies you have and just focusing on those. Now, don't get me wrong. I am very in favor of always trying to add new methods to your portfolio, okay? Always looking to improve and evolve in this game. It's very, very important. But I'm definitely not in favor of giving up or scrapping strategies you have just to jump around and try something else and try something else. If you have time available to add a method to your portfolio, then do it. But you have to keep what you're already working on. And it's like I said, with the grass, keep watering it, keep improving it, and try and make it better. And a lot of you who watch this video know my story. I mean, I was exactly like this way back in the day. I would try a strategy for a bit. As soon as there was a few losers, no, I'm sure there's a better strategy out there. I'd try something else. It would seem like it was the best thing in the world. Then a few losers would come on, and then I'd be like, no, I'm sure there's something even better. And I would just keep going round and round in circles. And it's not great. And obviously, fear of missing out is the root of all of that. And it leads on to other stuff as well. What's the next one we've got? It leads on to over trading, kind of getting in the market for the sake of it. This is especially true. Let's say you're watching a match live. You haven't even planned to trade this match, and it doesn't fit your strategy. The odds don't fit what you usually want, but because you're sitting there watching the match, you kind of feel like, you know what? I don't want to see a goal go in and I'm not making money off it. So I'm going to get involved, even though it doesn't fit what I usually want. And we all know how that usually ends. I mean, when you get into a trade that you haven't planned to get into, I don't know if it's the market's punishing you, but a lot of the time you won't get away with it. And then later on, you'll be even more annoyed with yourself, and then you'll lead to further lapses of discipline and all sorts of things from there. And again, social media can play a part in this as well. Sometimes you might be trading one match, and then it's not the greatest match for trading, but then there's another match going on somewhere else, which is turning into like a trader's wet dream, and you think, hey, do you know what? I'm going to scrap this match that I'm involved in. I'm going to go and head over there, and then you've got no real good read on the match, and then it all starts to go wrong. And I see this for some reason. I see this a lot on social media, where you get like a high scoring first half in a match. Maybe the first half finishes like 2-2 or something, and you see a bunch of people head over and get involved in that match in the second half, which then might end 2-2. There might be no further goals in the second half. And then they're sitting there complaining, saying, oh, yeah, see, there was loads of goals until I went and got involved in it. And again, I feel like that was probably just the fear of missing out. They thought, oh, there's loads of goals flying in there. I'm going to go in there, try and catch some of those goals, make a bit of money on that, even though it definitely was not part of the initial plan for the day. And yeah, the markets will punish you. And also, I mean, overtrading can also, fear of missing out can lead to overtrading. It can also lead to overstaking as well. And I think a lot of people see others making the big money on football trading, and then they often feel like they need to be staking just as big, or else they're missing out on something. And this is something that confuses me, since a good trade is still a good trade no matter what stakes are used, right? So if you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with keeping the stakes low, and if it's £2 stakes or £10 stakes or whatever, and just focus on making good trades rather than the amount you can actually win. And if you actually just focus on making good decisions and making good trades, it's a lot more satisfying than doing some sort of reckless trade that then wins you, a few hundred or whatever, whatever's a big amount to you. It is things like this that is partly the reason I'm often reluctant to put screenshots or share trades on social media these days, because of this. Because I start to worry that people are going to overstake and put money on that they can't afford to lose. And honestly, I did it initially because I thought it would inspire people, and it would also offer hints on what I look for in the markets. You can't spoon feed everyone, but at the same time, you get more of an idea of the type of matches I trade and the type of situations I look for and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, it ended up doing the opposite, and it seems to bring out the worst, the worst in people, and especially those who think it's easy. Then they go and stake money that they can't afford to lose, and then I ended up getting the abuse for it and all that sort of stuff. But I do think it can all be related back to this: the fear of missing out. So, like I said, if you can eliminate the fear of missing out, then you'll go a long, long way to improving your football trading drastically. And I guess one of the ways to see it is that fear of missing out, it is short-term thinking, and short-term thinking gets you short-term results. So I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement that fear of missing out is a huge, huge issue, and probably one of the big reasons why, if you're watching this video and you're not yet long-term profitable, it's probably because of this. So how do we cure it? We're going to get into that right now. But I do just want to quickly say as well that if you haven't yet downloaded this, then click the link in the video description to get your free copy sent right to your inbox. It's a free PDF, the 7 steps to football trading success. It's a game plan for you if you're interested in taking your football trading to the next level. And like I said, it's absolutely free. So definitely download it and check it out. The link is in the description for this video. So just enter your email address, and by the time you're finished with this video, it should be in your inbox ready to read. So definitely check that out. Pretty much almost everyone who's downloaded that has told me it's been a very, very useful tool for them. So check that out. 7 steps to football trading success. The link is in the description. Okay. So how do we eliminate the fear of missing out? Okay. Now I did actually have to Google some stuff as well, because the fear of missing out it's not just a problem in football trading. It's a problem with human beings in general. So it's definitely something, if you can eliminate it from your life, you'll probably have a much better life. And when I did look on Google, one of the main reasons or the best ways to eliminate fear of missing out is simply just to be happy. And apparently the more happy you are with yourself and just with your life, the less likely you are to suffer from FOMO. It doesn't mean that, if you do get FOMO that you're completely unhappy. It doesn't work like that. But the more happy you are, the less likely it is to affect you. So one thing I always advise, and I advise a lot of my members, I put up quite a few videos about this in the members area, where I talk about, if you want to succeed with something like football trading, it's actually vitally important to have interests outside of it as well, emotionally and financially, outside of the football trading thing. And from my own experience, I found that those who do best at this are usually those who have the outside interests and already have good careers. And it's very ironic that those who make the most money from football trading, those that I've seen, they actually have regular 9-to-5 jobs, regular corporate jobs as well. And I actually see a lot who make more money from football trading than they make in their regular corporate job. But they would never give up their regular job because of, the security and the career ladder and the fact that maybe they enjoy their job as well. But one of the big reasons as well is because they appreciate that having the other interests actually help when it comes to trading. Because, if you have a bad day trading, then you're back at work the next day and you don't dwell on it as much. And then you're probably a lot less likely to start to suffer from the fear of missing out. Okay, so when trading becomes your life, it's when you're going to start to experience a lot of the symptoms that we're talking about in this video. So obviously, be happy is not it's a lot more complex than that. It's not just as simple as, hey, be happy, but that is one of the best ways to eliminate FOMO. Okay, now this is one way that you should definitely. Well, this is something you could do instantly as well. If probably the best advice of all is to have no social media when you're trading. Now, it's fine to use social media before you're trading, maybe afterwards as well, just to catch up with everyone. Or if you want to put a tweet out there, but not actually look at whatever everyone else is doing whilst you're trading, then you can do that. But when you're trading yourself, you're looking at social media and you're seeing what everyone else is doing, you're seeing the markets they're getting into, you're seeing their bets, you're seeing their green screens and all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's going to lead to that FOMO, right? It's definitely going to lead to that fear of missing out. And this is something I do myself. I mean, I do tweet when I'm trading from time to time, but I never look at Twitter during the actual matches because I just don't want to be influenced by other people's decisions. I want to be influenced by my own decisions. I just want to make my own decisions and stick to it. And like I said, this is more long-term thinking. Short-term thinking is to say, hey, let me look at Twitter, or that tipster's tipping up that. All right, I'm going to follow that. Let's try and get a winner. Yeah, that's great. Maybe you won today, maybe you win tomorrow or whatever. But eventually that tipster's going to disappear, and then you're back on your own. And then what do? You go and find another one. Whereas why not actually work on improving your own decision making and becoming the most reliable tipster of all. So yeah, that's been a rule for me for many years, is to just not follow social media when I'm in there. I like to be in my zone, and yeah, just to be trading like that. So that is a pretty big tip there. No social media when you're trading. And like I said, you can use it to socialize before and after the fact, but when you're trading, it's really probably not that helpful to have it up there. So there is that. And also don't follow matches that you don't plan on trading, okay? Because this can lead to a lot of frustration. I mean, say you picked out 2 or 3 matches that you're going to follow, they fit your strategy, and then they're not really the greatest. Maybe no opportunities present themselves, but the matches you decided not to pick, suddenly they fit, well, or you at least you think they fit your strategy now, and they're full of goals and all that sort of thing. That can lead you to getting very frustrated. Maybe you start to do something on the match you're following that you didn't plan to do, or maybe you try and head over to that match and try and catch some of these goals that are flying in, and then inevitably there'll probably be no goals, and then you're left feeling very, very silly. So one thing I always suggest with that is to create a short list. I think on Flash Scores it's very easy to create a short list. Just pick out the matches that you plan on trading for the day, add them to the short list, and then don't look at anything else. This is especially true on Saturdays, where there can just be so many matches bouncing around. You're better off just picking out the matches that you want and only following those, and only checking the results of the other games afterwards, later on that night or the next day. And then finally as well, I mean, how to eliminate FOMO is to get into the mindset of competing with yourself. You're not competing with everyone else out there, all the tipsters on social media and all the other traders on Twitter, you're not competing with them. Compete with yourself. Get into the mindset of competing with yourself. And when I mean that, I mean take responsibility for every trade that you make, and think that when you make a trade, when you put that money in the market, think about your own bank balance and then your own spreadsheet as well when you got to record those results. I mean, having this mindset for me helped me to avoid just following tipsters or anything like that, since I knew that if I followed a tipster and it won, okay, yeah, I feel good, I've made a bit of short-term money. But if it's a loser, then I am the one that has to accept full responsibility for it, right? It's my money that is leaving my account balance, and it's me that has to mark that red loser into my spreadsheet, which actually often feels worse, especially if it wasn't something I really wanted to do. I mean, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, watching this video, which might have placed a bet that a tipster's put up without doing any sort of their own research themselves. And then when that bet loses, how do you feel? You don't feel very great. You don't feel very great about it at all. And I know, because I've been there many, many years ago. So, like I said, this approach helped me realize, you know what? If a tipster puts up a tip and he gets a win, and I don't put any money on it myself, I'm not missing out on anything at all. I mean, it wasn't going to change my life, was it? But what might change my life is learning to pick these out myself and building my own selection process. So if there is a tipster out there, or someone who seems to be a very successful trader or sports investor or bettor or whatever, then yeah, I wouldn't follow them blindly, but I would try and dive into the match and the statistics and try and see what they're seeing, and maybe try and work out where their edge is from. That's the approach anyway. Definitely wouldn't follow them blindly. And like I said, if you get into that mindset of you're competing with yourself, you want to just try and improve yourself, improve your bank balance, improve your spreadsheet, keep up that strike rate, then you'll be a lot less inclined to just follow tipsters blindly. That is for sure. And if you are someone who experiences FOMO and you're looking to cure it, you're looking to get rid of it or lower your inclination to give into it, then there is an exercise that you could try. And this exercise will really, really help with your discipline as well. So this exercise, basically what you do is you're going to take a day to watch all the football matches or whatever sport that you trade, and you're going to watch the markets at the same time. You're going to see all the prices. You're going to see all the potential opportunities, all the money that could be made if you were involved, but you're not allowed to trade. You're not allowed to put a single penny into the markets. All right. It'll be interesting to see how many people actually try this exercise and how many people actually survive the challenge. Take a whole day to do this exercise. No money into the market. And if you can do this on a Saturday, then you're really, really doing well. Now, by the end of the day, by the time you've done this and you've done the 24 hours of watching the matches and watching the markets, I don't mean 24 hours straight. Obviously, you need to sleep. But just the whole day, then I guarantee that by the end of that day, you're going to see have a lot of opportunities come and go. And you're going to start to realize, you know what? It wasn't the end of the world that I missed these opportunities, and there's going to be a tomorrow. There's going to be more opportunities the next day, and many more days to come. I mean, football is it goes on forever. It's not a sport I see stopping anytime soon. If anything, I see it growing even more. And goals, a goal being scored is not a rare event. There are hundreds of goals all day, every day. It's not a scarce asset. So yeah, keep all that in mind, and believe me, if you do that for a day, then you'll start to realize that if I miss out on opportunities, it's not the end of the world. There's going to be more to come the next day. But then step 2 of this, when you're easing yourself back into it, is that you're going to pick a match, any match. You're going to watch that match and watch the markets. And you're going to tell yourself you only get one trade and one trade only on that particular match. And once you put your trade in the market, that's it. There can be no more trades after that, no matter how good that opportunity seems later on. And this will help hugely with your discipline. And you know, don't just do this for one match. Do this for as long as it takes to really improve your discipline. because eventually you're going to get into the habit of saying, you know what, I only get one trade, so I'm going to try and make this a really, really good one. So instead of me getting in the market at an earlier price, I'm going to try and wait for a really, really good price. Even if that means I'm just going to wait till the second half to get involved. And eventually you're probably going to evolve to the point where you're going to be able to sit and watch a match and just say, do you know what? I don't see any trades. I don't see any trades at all. There's no trades for me at all in this. And I'm not missing out if I don't get involved. I'm just going to wait until I really, really see an opportunity that I want. And yeah, like I said, this is not going to be an instant overnight thing. It's definitely something that takes time. And the whole fear of missing out, this is not just exclusive to football trading. It really is human nature generally. You know, humans, it's built into our DNA that we're always looking to improve or find shortcuts to things, when really sometimes as humans we should just stick with what we have and just look to really try and improve what we have and get good at that. But anyway, that is it. Try to exercise. It would be very, very interesting to hear how that exercise helps you and all that sort of thing. And if you are someone that suffers from FOMO and you can relate to this video, then yeah, leave a comment in the comments section. And if this video has helped you in any way as well, please do leave a comment. It was very, very interesting subject as well, and it isn't something I see other football traders talking about at all. But honestly, it really, really is the root of all evil. But one phrase that I'm gonna leave you with, and I kind of just touched upon it as well, but maybe you could print this out, stick it on the wall, write it on your hand. If you do suffer from FOMO as a football trader, keep telling yourself this: there will always be more goals. Goals are not scarce. There will always be more. There are hundreds of matches all day, every day. Thousands of goals are scored every week. Hundreds of thousands every month, year, who knows? But there's always going to be more goals. So if you miss out on some goals or you miss out on a good trade, there's always going to be more. Keep that in mind. So anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're not yet a subscriber to the channel, click on the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get the instant updates as soon as a new video goes live. And while you're here, check out these other videos as well. If you've opted in to get the freebie as well, then remember, click the link in the description, and that should be in your inbox very, very shortly. You can read that, and you can also check out some of these videos. I'll see you in the next video.